Do you want to be popular? To have people respect you? To have them think well of you? You won't achieve that by following Jesus. At least not by following him the way that he teaches it. Nowadays there are many preachers that say that being a Christian will bring you many blessings, and then they identify these blessings as a more united family, living peacefully and securely, having success in your business, and prospering materially and in your health. They use certain isolated proof texts to support these ideas, but there is always something that whispers inside us, letting us know that this is not right, that they are simply trying to sell us what our selfish nature wants to hear. Due to the fact that religious hypocrisy has dominated for centuries already, in certain cultures it is respectable to be a Christian. Typically, a Christian is seen as a model citizen, someone who gets along with everyone, who is friendly, is not involved in controversies, and someone who everyone wants to be like. But the truth is that Jesus' way is not and will never be popular. Jesus says, "Enter in through the narrow gate, because wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there are that go that way. Because narrow is the gate, and narrow is the way that leads to life, and few are those that find it." Few, not the majority, rather a minority of people will be saved. So when you see that a way is very popular, you have to be very careful. Now, sometimes things are not totally clear at the time. Jesus also had some moments that appeared to be popular. Multitudes followed him, but mostly they followed him because they wanted something selfish from him. And each time he noticed that there were too many people following him, he would tell them clearly what the requirements were for being one of his disciples, or would criticize them harshly for their lack of faith. You see, Jesus was not after fans. He was looking for people who were willing to be disciples, and he actively did and said things that would drive people away. This is in great contrast to what many preachers do today. They want more and more followers and are prepared to tell people what they want to hear to reach that goal. Now, spreading the message to more and more people is a valid goal, as long as it really is Jesus' true message. And as I mentioned before, Jesus did have some popular times in which he attracted the multitudes. But his goal was not that of being popular, rather that of spreading the message to everyone, to give everyone the opportunity to be saved. Similarly, we should strive to reach more and more people, but without watering down the message to be more popular. It is a fact that if you speak the truth and teach the same things that Jesus taught, it will lead to many people thinking badly of you and not well. Jesus says, "Blessed are you when men hate you, when they exclude you and revile you and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for indeed your reward is great in heaven. For in like manner their fathers did to the prophets." Did you hear that? Jesus says that God's blessing is in being hated by others for his sake, not in being applauded. The true prophets of old were always rejected by the leaders of the religious system and by society at large, and it continues being that way today. How willing are you to have people say that you are an extremist, a religious fanatic, that you have been brainwashed, or even that you are part of a cult, simply because you want to obey the things that Jesus teaches? Because that is how they considered the true Christians of the first century. They literally said they were a sect, that is, a cult at that time. With Paul, for example, they accused him before the authorities in this way: "For we have found this man a plague, a creator of dissension among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes." Does that sound like someone who went around promoting peace, prosperity, and happiness? Clearly not. Paul preached a radical message of repentance that required doing works worthy of repentance. This message was most exemplified in how the early Christians manifested their obedience to the teachings of Jesus in Acts chapter 2 and 4, where we are told that everyone who believed sold their properties and possessions, lived together, and shared everything they had one with another, and were dedicated every day to serving God. And as a result of these radical teachings of Jesus that the apostles were preaching every day and that the early Christians put into practice, even though they had favor with the people at first, in the end, they were hated and had a bad reputation in society at large. That's why some people asked Paul to give them more details about this new controversial movement that had already been labeled a cult. But we desire to hear from you what you think. For concerning this sect, we know that it is spoken against everywhere. Jesus himself warned us of the danger of becoming popular. Woe to you when all men speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. So if you want the world to think well of you, do not follow Jesus, because his way is one that will lead you to being rejected by the world, just like they rejected him. And don't think that by following Jesus, it will lead to greater unity among your family and relatives. Jesus warned, "Do you suppose that I came to give peace on earth? I tell you not at all, but rather division. From now on, 5 in one house will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. Father will be divided against son, and son against father. Mother against daughter, and daughter against mother. Mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household." Does this sound like Jesus came to promote family unity? Of course not. What Jesus wants instead is to form a new family, not based on bloodlines or culture, rather based on obedience to God. Now, perhaps some members of your family will be in favor of following Jesus and will come with you on the narrow path, but this is not likely to happen in most cases. The truth will cause division between those who want to follow Jesus and those who do not. And God's plan is to choose those individuals who will respond in obedience to Jesus above everything and everyone else. Our faith must be and will be put to the test. Are you going to follow Jesus even when it's not popular? When your family and friends reject you? When society thinks of you as scum? When you are accused and those who support you in obeying Jesus are accused of being a sect or a cult, of being the worst kind of people that there could be? That is what you have to give serious thought to and make a decision on once and for all. Because the Christian path is narrow, requires effort to enter into it, and only few will make it. If by chance you are someone who is willing to forsake all in obedience to Jesus, regardless of what the world would say, get in touch with us via the email address on screen so that we can work together and encourage one another in this narrow way. Thanks for listening. God bless you.